My mother died when I was 8 years old of cancer. Probably the most important thing that happened in my life for me to form my character as a result of that. Something happened on May 3rd, before the July she died, that caused me to believe that my mother didn't love me. And that is a burden, a cross that I carried for most of my life. The second most important event that happened in my life was my daughter, who believed she was a reincarnation of my mother, died at 41 years old when her son was 8 years old. My mother died when I was 8 years old. My daughter died when her son was 8 years old. Those two events have created Carrie. The first one, my mother's death, basically made me believe for the majority of my life that I was not capable of being loved, that I was not worthy of love. I did not become aware of this until after I retired. So I am of the belief that as a retiree, there is one thing you must do before you retire, and that is to discover who you are and why you are who you are. I did that as a result of an exercise that I went through, and that was I had read an article that said that if I wanted to understand myself, I needed to understand the most important days of my life, and I needed to identify them. And they said to take out a yellow pad and write down as many days of your life as you can remember. I did that, and I ended up with 75 days. Some of them, and most of them, were very recent, but some of them came out of my childhood. Then the article said, put that down and come back a week later and write down the 10 most important days of your life, the 10 days that you believe formed who you are. I did that, and I came up with 10 days that happened before I turned 14 years of age. And I became convinced that determined who I am today. The only day that was different, that changed that, was December 26th, 2014, the day my daughter died. And that stimulated me to basically ask the question, why has this happened to me? And why am I the way I am? Why did I succeed where I succeeded, and why did I fail where I failed? So I set out on a quest to find out who is Carrie and why is Carrie who he is. And I revisited those 10 days. And I sat down when I got done and I wrote a book. I wrote a book about it because I thought it was important because I found happiness as a result of it. I was not a happy person until I wrote this book and figured out who Carrie was. And that's what I think you should do. Again, you will look at your life and you will ask yourself the question, why did I succeed where I succeeded, and why did I fail where I failed? And it'll come back to what happened to you in your early days. I can pinpoint where I established in my life that I was a dummy, that I couldn't read, I was not a good student, I became an angry child. That anger stayed with me for many, many years. An anger towards not only myself, but other people. And then, after I kind of resolved all this, I said, where is all this coming from? Why is it when I was an employee, I always turned out to be a bad employee. I always wanted to change the way things were done. It was because I needed attention. It was because I didn't have love when I was young. I needed to misbehave. Most people who do misbehave are just trying to be recognized or trying to stand out from the crowd so that you can come forward and show them either your anger or your affection, but at least show them something. And that's who I was. When I would succeed in a business, and I succeeded at almost everything I pursued, I would turn it bad. I would go to management and say, you're doing this wrong and I'm going to do it differently. And I would challenge them, and then they would find a door for me to exit. But I'd then go do the same thing over and over. But then, after I really resolved who I was and why I was, and realized it all stemmed back from that day, May the 3rd, 1953, when I decided my mother didn't love me. And I then resolved that issue and realized she knew she was dying, and she just wanted to see me cry because she wanted to see every little bit of emotion, every bit of life that I had to offer at that time. But I didn't understand that. Once I did, I realized also, I had read something that said that 95% of all the conversations that I would have in my life, I would have with myself. And I realized that was right. You talk to yourself. You doubt yourself. You question yourself. And you talk to that unwanted roommate in your head. And that unwanted roommate that doesn't really believe in you, that believes that you aren't loved because your mother did not show you the affection you expected on May 3rd in 1953, you misbehave. You become a bad employee. You aren't probably the best of husbands. You aren't the best of fathers because you have doubts, because that unwanted roommate is controlling you. Once I put that behind me, I found my strengths. I found my compassion. I realized I needed love, so I just went out and asked for it. That's what I do in these videos. I ask for your comments, and hopefully you give me nice comments. I form discords where I can share more of my knowledge and my experience and maybe become worthy of your love. That's who I am. If you're interested in learning more about this and maybe helping yourself do the most important thing you can do before you retire, I'd suggest you go into the description. Right below the description, I'm going to put a link to this book. You can buy it on Amazon, and you can read it, and you can see how I resolved my issues, how I became a team player with my unwanted roommate, turned him into a coach, and created this and another YouTube channel, Best of Us Investors, and now Best of Us Retirement. And this has now become the most important and the best part of my life. And I want to share it with you. But you can't really have the best part of your life until you get where I have found myself now. I found happiness. I've discovered I'm a creator, not a salesman. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a creator. I like doing this. And all it is opening my heart up to you so you can give back to me. You can confirm that my mother did love me and that I am lovable. And that, I believe, has changed my life, and I hope it can change yours. So I'd be interested in your comments, and I'd like you to read my book and find out how my life has changed and how I'm living the best half of my life. I do this every day because I want to, because I need to, and I'll continue to do it.